We want to introduce you to our new Muleshoe High School band director, Daniel Barber. Daniel, where did you come from?
I am originally from Monroe, Louisiana, and in Monroe they say Monroe. So I went all 12 years of school there, well 13 including kindergarten. Graduated Ouachita Parish High School in 1988. So that's my hometown.
And so where did you get your advanced degree?
I have my Bachelor's of Music Education from Louisiana State University, and I graduated there in 96. And yes, that's 8 years after my high school graduation.
That's okay, you graduated.
Yep, I had a little time there where I did some work and went back to student teach and got married. So there was a little bit of life in there in between, but that's okay. I still graduated and started teaching.
And then where did you start teaching?
My first job was in Louisiana. I actually taught at my alma mater for a little over half year as an assistant band director at Ouachita Parish High School. Then after that, 1997-98 was my first full school year in Texas in Collinsville, Louisiana. Collinsville, Texas. Collinsville, Texas.
And so then you came to Muleshoe from where?
I was in Little Elm for 9 years. And my wife was in Frisco for 13 of those. So we've been in the North Dallas area. Actually, outside of the semester that I student taught, we've been in the North Dallas area since 1994. So almost 20 years.
So quite a change from the Metroplex area to Muleshoe Metroplex.
Yeah, it's a big change, and even though I didn't grow up in a town the size of Muleshoe, Monroe was a town of about 50 or 60,000, and I had a lot of relatives that lived in the country. My papa had a farm about 60 miles northeast of town, and so I was used to the smaller rural environment. So it's not as big a change, and Texas and Louisiana is a little different, but they're still southern states, so a lot of things are very similar. Good food, good people, friendly atmosphere, good churches, good place to get plugged in with your faith and family. So it's a very friendly environment for the family.
Well, but the only difference is the pronunciation sometime, and also you have parishes and we have counties. And
that's right, and some of the only people that know that are the neighboring states around Louisiana. When I tell people that are further away than one state that I graduated from such and such parish high school, they think that means I'm Catholic, because that's what it sounds like a lot of places, but that's correct.
Yeah. And so now tell me, you said you got married. Who did you marry?
My wife is Christy Warner Barber, and this December we will have been married for 20 years. We dated for the better part of 4 years at LSU because I was a slowpoke. It took me a little while. And she's with us here in Muleshoe. She is the new elementary music teacher at Dillman. And our son Christopher, who's a sophomore, is here. He's 16. We have a 3.5-year-old at kinder corner, and have a senior daughter that's 17 going on 18 that we left in Little Elm because she's the senior drum major and she's very plugged into her youth. And the high school band director there is my best friend from like the 5th grade, so we felt very comfortable leaving her there. So
is she living with them right now?
She is actually living with an aunt and uncle. That not just an aunt and uncle of hers, but family that we've been very close to for the entirety of our marriage and their marriage. So that's a comfortable environment. Doesn't mean I don't miss her dearly, but
of course. And you'll go to her graduation, I'm sure.
I sure will. And matter of fact, this Friday night is our open date, and it's their homecoming. So I'm gonna. Nice. I can't. It's a blessing that it worked out that way, but I'm gonna be able to get to see her perform as drum major.
Well, now, has she been drum major just this year? So this will be your first experience to see her?
That is correct. She's a drum major as a senior. And this will be the only instance I get to see her live. I get to see the recordings, but it's better live.
Oh, of course. And I know she'll appreciate that, and you will love it. And speaking of drum majors, for the Muleshoe High School Mighty M Marching Band, who is your drum majors this year?
We have Mr. Christian Mora, who is a senior. This is his second year's drum major. And Miss Miranda DeBruin is our first-year drum major, also a senior, and they're very strong leaders.
Wonderful. And now, can you remember about how many you have in the band this year?
We have 61, so which is a a few. I don't know last year's number. From what I understand, it's larger enough, whether it's 7 or 8 or 9, that we actually can't quite fit on one bus. But that was actually a good thing because we're wanting to grow. So
Well, sure, of course. And so now tell me about what you have on your fall schedule. Of course, UIL is coming up in marching contest, but how do you prepare for that, not only in Muleshoe, but with out-of-town competition?
yes, ma'am. Well, the biggest time that we learn drill, when you watch a marching band on Friday night or college bands on Saturdays, you can tell when they move, they usually hit a form, and they may stay there, or they may go straight from that form to another form. We call those sets. Y'all are probably familiar with that. And our show has 30 sets, and we're basically done. We do the bulk of learning that in chunks on Tuesday nights from 6:30 to 9. We practice right out here in the pavement because they have it striped off for us from 20 to 20. And then we get a chance on every morning to practice for about 45 minutes. And on Friday mornings, we get to go out to the field. Coaches let us go out to the field, which is very nice. So that's how we do the rehearsal schedule week to week. And as we get closer to our competition, we occasionally will put a little extra time in there, such as the Monday that we're out of school on the 13th of October, we'll be rehearsing here from 1 to 4. And sometimes when we have a long rehearsal, we'll do a little bit indoors, just playing, because you want it to not just look good with the feet and the shoulders and the marching, but you want it to sound good. So we spend a lot of time on the music too.
And in University Interscholastic League marching competition, what do they actually judge on?
The way actually the state does it, and it is through the UIL rating system, it's 50% playing and 50%, no, I'm sorry, it's actually 60-40. 60% playing and 40% marching. So now some of the other competitions that are before UIL, sometimes they'll tweak that a little bit. I think the competition out at Lubbock High that's called the Westerner Marching Festival, the one on October 11th, that one they're doing 50-50, which I kind of like that because it's as much visual as it is what you hear. Typically, if you make it to area and then make it to state for the UIL state contest in San Antonio, it's usually 60% playing and 40% marching.
I see. Now, so you will be competing in a pre-UIL contest, and what time do you know, and what date and where?
Our performance on the 11th is at 10 a.m. So
October the 11th, 10 o'clock in the morning.
At Lowry Field, which probably means we'll be leaving here between 7:30 and 8 o'clock. And then on October the 18th, it's the total opposite. We're at 7:30 p.m.
So maybe more people could go and support the band at the evening hour, do you think?
I would think so, and my wife would probably agree with that too. So when it's that late, it's a lot more comfortable.
Right. And now where is the actual UIL marching competition going to be held?
It's at the same locations as Lowry Field, which is Lubbock High School, which is why we're doing the pre-UIL where we're doing it, because there's other competitions the same day, different pre-UIL competitions. We choose that one because we get to march on the exact field that we're going to do for UIL, which I think is going to be a big help for us.
Oh, I think that would be very important. Now, they don't let everybody go to state every year in marching. So is it our year to go, and how do they work that?
It's on an alternating basis, like you know. So for 3A, the new 3A, this is not a state year, so next year will be our first chance. And what happens if you make a first division at the UIL region contest, then you advance to area. And based on how you do it area, if there's 15 to 20 bands, they'll take 3 or 4 to state. So you want to shoot for the top 3 or 4. So that'll be next year.
But this is an important year, too, because you want to get a 1.
Oh, absolutely. We always want to do the absolute best we can for the kids here. The kids deserve to be successful, so we're certainly shooting for the top rating.
And, of course, in marching, it's just a 1 that's not in a 1 in your sound and a 1 in marching. It's just a 1 in the marching competition.
That's right. There are 3 judges, but it's an overall rating of 1. And, of course, in the spring, you have the sight reading component. And in marching, you have just the 1 component. So you can make a first division with a first division, and then 1 judge of the 3 given a second division. So, but there are 3 judges. But you're right. It's just the 1 rating.
And how did they do last year at Muleshoe Mighty M Band in marching? Do you know?
Yes, ma'am. I do remember very clearly. I've watched the shows from the last several years, and the last 3 years in particular have been really a big improvement for the Mighty M Marching Band. Last year, they missed it by hair. They got a first division, and then the second judge gave them a second division. The third judge gave them a second division. So that's the closest you can get to a first division without making a first division. But they redeemed themselves in the spring. They made straight ones across the board in spring. So we're certainly shooting for the top rating.
Well, of course, and we'll keep our fingers crossed and support you every way we can. We think that the Mighty M Band concert and marching season are very important for our student, our school, and our community as well. Now, past UIL, do you have anything else coming up in the fall or early winter?
I know that after October the 18th, we still have a few football games, and certainly we're rooting for the football team to make the playoffs. They haven't even started district yet, so we have a great shot at that. And so what we work on after that is we start working on a little bit of solo and ensemble, even though that's in March. We start working on a little bit deeping digger with the students that are working on all region auditions. So some of the individual things we start working on in addition to getting ready for the Christmas concert. So there's always plenty of things to work on.
And when is the Christmas concert and where?
That will be December the 14th, which is a Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock here in the auditorium here at Muleshoe High School.
And of course, everyone will certainly be invited to come to that and to support the band at UIL competition in Lubbock as well. Now, tell us about the show for UIL this year. How did you form it, and a little bit about the Muleshoe show?
Well, I know that they were working on some different music, or they had different ideas of what they were going to want to choose musically. But I know that Mr. Gibson and Mr. Alberts and Mrs. Morrison had already previously chosen a show called Conquest of the Mayan Empire, which is the name of the show we're doing, and it's got a Spanish flavor. And they told me after I was hired, I came in and actually attended the spring concert, got to meet with all the directors. They were wonderful, very nice. I was very impressed with meeting everybody. And they said, you can choose something else. You can listen to other shows. But the more I listened to the one that we eventually ended up doing, the Conquest of the Mayan Empire, the more I liked it, and I didn't hear or pick up anything that I liked any better. And it's got a Spanish flavor. I think it fits our kids really well. So that's what we stuck with.
Well, that's wonderful. Mm-hmm. And so I think you've got a head start then.
Yes, ma'am. It was great. It was great coming in with the kids already having a head start on their music. That's always a great thing. We're going to try to do that again pretty much every year. So at the end of the school year, we have the music chosen, and after the spring concert, in addition to getting ready for state solo and ensemble, we can, because that happens about the third week of May, around Memorial Day, we can also be working on our marching band music going into the summer, which is a big head start.
We're so glad that you're in Muleshoe, and we're so glad that you like Muleshoe. Yeah. We can tell that. Do you have an assistant or someone at Watson Junior High that assists?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Grady Alberts, he came over here when Mr. John Gibson was here. He's known Mr. Gibson for a long time, and they've been good friends, and they hired him on the spot when Mr. Gibson got hired, and he is a fantastic assistant. He's a wonderful trumpet player, a very strong musician, and is a big help. And certainly, he is the head director for the Watson Junior High Band, does a great job, and that's my chance to assist him. And it has been really neat both working with him and our second assistant, Mrs. Kelly Morrison. It's been really just amazing how much chemistry we have from the outset. We're all a little bit sarcastic, but we enjoy each one's sense of humor. And it has been an absolute pleasure getting to know these two people that are fantastic musicians as well as very good teachers.
Anything else that you'd like to tell us about, or any hopes or desires for the Muleshoe High School Mighty M Marching Band and concert bands both?
Anytime you come to a new place after you've been somewhere for 9 years, and in the Dallas area in particular for 20 years, I've wanted to come out into the west part of the state. Anyone who knows me knows this. Former teachers of mine that I've worked with, as well as my wife, I've wanted to be out here for a long time. And part of the reason it took me so long is my best friend is the high school band director at Little Elm. And but I eventually wanted to branch out on my own and be a head director at a high school. And when I it took me 9 years, but I was ready to look for a job out here. When I started looking at the different job ads, Muleshoe absolutely jumped out at me. And I visited the community. I interviewed with Mr. Myatt and the Dr. Sheets and Ms. Basir. I think Ms. Boatman and Ms. White was there some too. And I have never in my life been more impressed with meeting so many people. And we didn't just stay in the office and hide from students. We went out and roamed around during the lunch, got to meet some of the kids. Then I got to meet the band directors. And I was absolutely, I keep using the word amazed, but just flabbergasted about not just how polite everyone was, but how knowledgeable they were, how professional they were. And literally, it just seemed like a fit from the get-go. So they had some more interviews after that, and they called me about a week later, and Mr. Mike talked to me for a few minutes, and my initial thought was, well, he's being nice, and then he'll say, well, we chose someone else. So when he said, Mr. Barber, we would like to offer you the job, I said, Mr. Mike, I'd like to accept right off the bat. So I'm just very excited to be here. I'm hoping to place some roots here and be here for a long time. I'm enjoying getting to know the kids, and I think over the term of several years, I think you're going to continue to see. Certainly, Mr. John Gibson, Mr. Alberts, Mrs. Morrison had already done fantastic work, and my prayer is that we can continue to move in the direction, and not just have a great high school band, but watch these young kids turn into young adults and have band and music in particular be part of what helps them to become problem solvers, successful adults, and obviously proponents of music to their children so we can teach them later.
Right. Well, that sounds wonderful, and we have been talking with the new Muleshoe High School Mighty M band director, Daniel Barber. We welcome you to Muleshoe and to this school as well and our entire area, and we want to assist you in any way in promoting the music of Muleshoe, the music of MHS, and the Muleshoe ISD. So let us know when we can assist you. Daniel Barber, the new Muleshoe High School band director.